So I think it's safe to say that the Trump situation has gotten way crazier than anybody could have ever anticipated. And I mean, every single time he's asked about it, Trump just says he's had some nice conversations with China and everything is going good. But the fact that he's been saying that for such a long time, yet the tariffs went up and, well, China doesn't really seem to budge all that much. They just cut out US oil, and we talked about it all a little while back. I really do wonder how progress is looking. And another interesting part was really, again, just take a look at this, right? This is just a little bit of a history because I try to always save things that are, interesting in that sense. Every nation, including China, wants to meet. That was yesterday. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang stresses the importance of the Chinese market and says he hopes to continue to cooperate with China. A little bit afterwards, you had President Trump saying the U.S. will make a deal with China. A little bit after that, Trump said if he wants Fed Chair Jerome Powell out, he'll be out of there really, really fast. And actually, there's a video about that. President Trump claims if he asks Powell to leave the Fed, he'll leave. If I ask him to, he'll be out of there. I don't think he's doing the job. But then a lot of others were commenting that he's the one creating the troubles that obviously just Powell on his own can't really fix. Anyway, so to get back on the Trump situation, he's just been saying for days, maybe like a week or so now, maybe 2 weeks almost, that they're talking with China and that they want to get some sort of deal going. Now, apparently, they're talking to China. China has reached out since the 145% tariff, even though he said they reached out before as well, and we're going to have a deal with them. If they don't want to make a deal, we'll make for them. We set the deal. We are talking. But then in the meantime, like I was just saying, what China's doing is they halted all liquefied natural gas purchases from the United States and more things of that sort. So it begs the question, how good are things really? And when he's saying, we'll make them pay, whatever, how much does one need the other? Who's really winning here? I'm not saying Trump won't get out on top in the end, but I mean, just take a look at the top right here. Ford stops China shipments due to tariffs. I mean, I'm just saying right now that things are getting quite interesting from a, global trade perspective. I mean, I understand they want to make the balance straight again, but just think about it, how much this could impact us. It all looks fun on paper, right? Of him joking around, putting a 200% tariff. But do you really get how much 100% actually is? If it's a full-on tariff, you know how much extra money that is? 100% is 100%. And so if they're adding that to 140 or 240, yeah, that's pretty significant, ladies and gents. Anyway, China, just yesterday as well. Time flies, man, because it feels like I covered this weeks ago, but it's just yesterday. Trolled President Trump on X over his tariff policy. What they basically said, Trump is pulling out all these tariffs cards, right? Well, basically stating the art of the deal. Just more and more tariffs. That's all they can bring to the table, really. But again, I was trying to say just now, the day before, we had the U.S. to use negotiations with their 70 plus other countries to block China's trade routes. It looks kind of civil. It looks like, hey, we want to talk, we want to get things going. But then on the opposite side, it kind of looks like that's the furthest thing as to what he wants to do, right? It's really quite peculiar. And actually, to add on top of that, look at this, right? So this is a little piece that came out a while back. I covered it on TikTok in the short forms, but maybe not on here. The White House said China now faces tariffs of up to 245% on imports to the U.S., up from 145% as a result of retaliatory actions. Now, like I was just stating, do you understand how much money that is? Now, that does not mean every single good will be tariffed at that rate, by the way. There are still levels to it, so it's not as if every single thing is going to get that number. And by the way, a complete side note, did you guys realize that China, there was a really big issue about China's government, actually not the full-on government, depends how you see it, but some local governments wanting to sell seized Bitcoin. And apparently they already sold a massive amount, and now it's being reported they might want to sell more. Some sources stated they already sold it, but we're just looking for the best way to justify it. Because the rules kind of state they're not allowed to, but then another rule kind of states they can overrule that if they want to. So it was kind of interesting. And then a question was also, should they be selling it? Should they be hoarding it? Something along those lines. China's local governments sell 15,000 Bitcoin worth 1.25 billion via offshore private entities. And the big drama was, hey, didn't China have a crypto non-trading rule? So if that's the case, why are they selling it off then? Shouldn't they not be allowed to do that? Anyway, you might be asking yourself, so how does this affect cryptos? In a direct sense, it should actually only be a positive thing. The more turmoil there is, the more that gold goes up. Now, often Bitcoin is seen as a gold replacement, and many of the other cryptos kind of, I guess, follow the success of whatever the status of Bitcoin is determined to be. I will state that there's almost no scenario in which any of these tariffs or any of these situations are negative. It just more so pushes on the point that crypto knows no borders. And if it's a big battle between the US and China, it again shows crypto has no country. Crypto doesn't discriminate, doesn't care about where you're from. And, well, which of those two stock markets do well? Maybe neither, maybe both. Logically still, the crypto space seems to be a proper area to invest in then, because it kind of goes against the grain. So from any of those angles, the only thing you could think of is, well, it tends to have a one-to-one correlation or a positive correlation with the stock market as of this point. Is it supposed to be that way? It will stay that way? I don't think so. But as of this point, whenever the stock market goes up, cryptos tend to go up. The stock market drops tremendously. The cryptos seem to fall tremendously as well most of the time. And so from that angle, if a massive battle breaks out and things end up bad or a massive recession hits, again, we've been talking about the fear of a recession a lot over the past few days. If it does set through, it begs the question of how long will it take before crypto replenishes its glory, before it gets to that perfect inverse correlation. But even that is honestly not necessarily better. I mean, would we want to have an inverse correlation to the S&P? Over time, the S&P will most likely perform well, right? We want to be accounted to that? No. I'd say, again, we want to be more of a gold replacement or I guess just be similar to gold, whereas other cryptos potentially fit more in an S&P type of category. But then again, I sometimes think, no, what we have with the S&P, right, because it's so many stocks all in one, we're probably also going to have with the crypto sector. But then instead, basically just now, how right now you have all these precious metals and they're the whole sector, right? Where it's kind of like a store of value. I kind of see crypto also being a whole sector in that sense, where most of these cryptos will do well in a place where gold would also do well. Where, again, if the S&P does really, really well, there's also a good use case for most of these cryptos. And if it does bad, there's another use case for the crypto. So it's basically a win-win. Anyway, the strategy still remains the same, though, regardless of how much crazier this gets in terms of a battle. I just buy my freaking cryptos. I wake up, buy more, wake up, buy more, wake up, buy more, go to bed, buy more, wake up, buy more. It's kind of like a little cycle like that. Why, you may ask? Because I know where we're headed over the next few months. And I can see already that if things keep getting worse, it all just happens a lot quicker. But that's the only thing that changes. The timeline is the only thing that can change. We know the end result. I think this is driving me a bit mad, maybe. If we're talking about the XRP price, though, it's been mostly down ever since the start of the year, or really since the whole Trump situation happened. Now, thus far, it seems like a lot of free trades were just basically buying it all the way back till the trend line. At least from the middle of January up till now, it would have worked. So even from this perspective here, even if we were to phase in now at $2.07, it kind of seems like we will be able to sell it for a bit more, maybe even just $2.18, or try to catch yourself any break really here, any sort of cheap coins that we can get. Because if you look at it from a little bit of a broader perspective, then if we just take this $2 line, which I described to y'all before, if you just bought every single time it got to that level, once or maybe twice, it would have not worked out. But ever since freaking November, every single time it got to that level, it bounced back hard. And right now, we're getting a bit to an interesting point, right? We're getting to we're getting to the convergence, let's just call it. We stand at the precipice of potentially a massive cliff fall or a break of sorts. Because again, the last few weeks, it's mostly just been trending downwards. We want that to stop, though. We want that new shift to be in. Now, on the shorter term, we could state that this, at about $1.80 or so, was a proper bottom to make. And that from there on forward, we're actually going to slowly but surely build ourselves back up, potentially fueled by the idea that the S&P has had its worst days because of the whole Trump situation. And right now, things are going to start looking flourishingly. All I can say about that is we're not 100% sure, right? If we want safer entries, we wait, for example, until the $2 mark below. But even right now, if we were to just buy something, I could actually just buy something even right here at this level, just to show you guys. I have another account here. If you also want to trade crypto, link is down below to below. As you guys know, I have one main account. The trade is already very, very large though, and all we got to do there is just wait. So I've gotten myself a little other account and just put a couple $1,000s in instead of a couple $100,000. just to show that over time, you'll see. So let's just, I guess, do a smaller trade. Maybe we put a couple $100 in just to prove a point here. We're going to open ourselves along for a couple hundred XRP. Let's do that. So in this case here, we put up an order. It's not yet filled. It will take a little bit of time maybe because I put it at 2.0. Let's see here. 2.0790 right now. We'll probably just get it in a little bit here. You see, this is my order right there. Let's see. Let's wait for it to fill. There we go. So we have ourselves a position now on XRP. And what we're going to do, right? What I'm going to do basically over the very, very short term is if the price starts going down, I can actually already input it now. I can, for example, start buying XRP again if it goes to $2 and a little bit, right? I can put that up slightly higher, for example, but I'm just giving an example of at that point, I might buy myself another, just double the position. If it goes to $2, we'll buy a little bit more. We just put that target in already. You can see it's yet again another open order. And we could put more of those in if we wanted to. We could just put, for example, another order in at, let's just do, for example, 1.94. Let's just say, well, if you take a look back, yeah, if we go, for example, 189, this has been interesting in the past. And then we put maybe like a 6 or something at the end just to kind of have a higher chance to be able to buy it. 190. It could actually be even higher. We could do even 196. There we go. And but again, maybe we double it up again. So kind of like martingale at that point. So we go for 900 XRP at that point. Let's add that in. I see now that I'm only at 3x leverage. As you can see over on the top right, you can't fully see it perfectly, but it's because it's a fresh account. I didn't change anything yet. Usually I go for 10x leverage though. In this case, if you want to change it up, you can see on the top, bottom left here, press this little button. We can change it to 10x if we want to. I just quickly had to cancel the orders, which I did. You can see right here, we went to 10x leverage because 3x is not going to do that much with such a little balance. But all it's done now at this point is just lower my margin. You can see it only we only put in $90 to get ourselves $900 worth of XRP. So I think we can actually buy just a little bit more. We'll just buy another $500 or so at this point. Just because it was a little bit too tiny. You can see here it's about a $1,500 trade right now. Still basically nothing in the grand scheme of things, but it's to prove a point that if we lower now again, so let's say for example we go back to $2 with slightly 2 and we put another few $1,000s in. Let's just do another $2,000 or so. If it goes to let's do 1.90, I guess we can also again do another maybe like $5,000 or so, 4,000. Let's just do it like that. There we go. We'll buy another $5,000 worth or so. And if it goes down more, we'll have to buy to make sure we do not get liquidated though. We keep buying our way down. And because the account size here is quite big for the little amount of money we're trading with, because only a few $100s or a few $1,000s here, we can keep this up for a while. But again, historically over the past few months, it's never gone below. But if we were to keep this up till, for example, about with a liquidation price of 90 something cents, maybe even a bit higher, I don't know how you can lose. But yeah, that's just me. Anyway, this is just to prove another point. We're opening another trade. Blowfin, if you also want to trade, link is down below for that. And I'll probably start updating a bit more on this and probably get another few accounts going, I think, also on some other platforms. Because I'm thinking, man, it's too easy. I should just showcase to people how if you've got some patience and you're not a complete fool, it really ain't that hard. As long as the market doesn't full capitulate, full crash on you like crazy. Can sometimes happen, you can't get unlucky, but that's a probability game, right? If you take a look at the past here, if you had done this strategy anywhere over the past almost 6 months here, it would have worked flawlessly. Could be that it breaks now. You do not know for sure. If you want to be more certain, you might want to wait, for example, for the break of trend, right? You wanted to confirm that we actually go above $2.20, for example, get above the moving average as well. I always take a look at a 50, not a 60. Anyway, so above the moving average as well and start buying it at that point. But this is just kind of trying to beat the curve. That's why we enter with such a small size because we're trying to up the trade, get some juicy size in as prices come down. But yeah, I still have my major XRP position open as well if you guys are wondering about that. But there's not that much to do anymore. Either I add crazy at these prices, a couple $100,000 more, or it's just waiting because I know eventually it'll be back in profit, but it's just a waiting game. And again, I might add here, but for now, I think this might be one of the better strategies to go for. Just fresh start. $2.07 are opening. Quite high for the recent history here. Quite high if you compare it for the last 2 weeks or so. But over a long period of time, I think this will still be cheap. But yeah, that's about it for right now. That's what we're doing. If you want to trade, like I said, you'll find some links down below to either Blowfin or WeX. Both of these you can use from anywhere in the world. And the nice thing about Bluefin is, well, I use it to trade a bit more often just because of how it looks, right? But the problem is if you're in the US or a couple other places, you might need a VPN, but there's no KYC. WeX you can use from anywhere in the world without VPN, so that might be a bit nicer. Trading bonus wise though, on WeX you get $10 to $100 for free depending on where you are. Bluefin you get a couple different bonuses. I think you get a 20% deposit bonus or something. Just click the link down below and you'll see what bonus you can get right now. We're also doing competitions all the time for our team, as you guys know. But yeah, that's about it for right now. Hopefully see you guys again another one somewhere later today. A lot of crazy stuff is going on, man.